We really appreciated it, and we're happy just to be here and to be on stage with all these very disruptive companies doing cool things. So thanks. So I'll tell you about CodeGuard, and I'll keep it super quick. We are a time machine for your website. So if you have a PC and you're not sure what time machine is, then ask a person to your left or right who's using a Mac, and they can tell you. And so I'll tell you how we interact with websites to do this. So what we do is we back up your site. Right now we use FTP or SFTP, and we're working on cPanel and Plesk plugins to make it super easy. But right now you have to enter in your FTP credentials, and we take an initial backup or snapshot. Then we monitor your code for changes, either every hour or every day. And if we find any changes, we'll update your repository and take a new snapshot. And lastly, we offer you the ability to undo any changes if you need to. So this is really the key to the value proposition, in that if anything happens to your site, whether it was wanted or unwanted, that you want to revert, you can do it with just one button. So now I'm going to show you guys the way the site looks. This is our website, and it's super easy to get started. This is CodeGuard.com. OK, it's up there. You just click Get Started, and you create your account. And we're offering 5,000 spots for our public beta. So once those are gone, then we'll just have to cut it. The code you can use is capital TCD, and you can create an account. And once you create an account, then you can add your website. And this is what it looks like after you've added your website. So you can see we have each version. And the thing that's unique about our versions is that they contain information. We don't just take a daily snapshot. We only take a backup if something has changed on your site. So you can look in, and I can see, well, nothing's changed in my site. That's fine. And if I want to look at the changes, I can click on Changes. And then I'll show you how monitoring is configured, and we'll conclude our presentation. For monitoring, I can choose here whether I want to have it monitor daily, hourly, or never. And then I can tell it what I want it to do if it notices anything is different. So the reason this is important is if I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, and I have an AdWords campaign running, and I'm not going to do anything on my website, I want to make sure if it notices anything is different, I want it to repair by pushing the last version. And that means that if Google puts me on a blacklist, my site's not going to drop on the page rankings while I'm gone, because very quickly, once it notices there's a change, it's going to revert, and then any malware on my site will be gone. So with that, I'll go back to the conclusion of our presentation. We consider ourselves website protection for the rest of us. Our system is built upon Git, developed by Linus Torvalds. It's an industry-leading source version control tool, but we provide it for the masses. It's as easy as getting started by adding your site, connecting to CodeGuard, and then we do the rest. That's it.
That's CodeGuard. All right, questions and comments for CodeGuard. Shanna?
So this is an enterprise self-serve model. That's the idea. You want.
It is an enterprise self-serve?
I mean, you want people to sign up themselves, no enterprise salespeople.
So we're targeting right now small and medium businesses because, and make sure I understand your question, the Fortune 500 and above, they have complicated web IT people that are as sophisticated as those in the audience that are using Git and other tools to do this. So we're targeting the small to medium businesses and bloggers who now can't do it on their own at all. So we're trying to take an industry-leading tool and bring it to the masses.
I guess I don't understand. This is for people who run their websites on which kinds of publishing platforms? Does it only work with certain CMSs or publishing platforms? Or?
That's a great question. So we've developed our initial MVP to work with static sites because we wanted to get that down and really get down to monitoring the source code. And now we're working on rolling out with essentially all CMS platforms, but doing it sort of on a one-by-one basis. So we're starting with WordPress.
Static sites meaning you're just crawling the page. You don't need to have anything connected to the server? Or?
So we FTP all of the sites right now.
Okay.
And so for the static sites, our solution right now, we don't have a database component. But let's say we take WordPress. If you have the WordPress database backup plugin installed, it'll dump your database next to your source code, and we back everything up. So we want to start with something where we could be very sure we had a solution that worked. So we started with the static sites and just the source code, and then we're planning on moving towards the database portion. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll have our own database plugin.
Roger?
How many sites is this working on currently?
Right now, we soft launched and we transitioned some of our private beta users. We maybe have 60 sites in the system right now.
And how do you plan to charge with this?
I'm sorry?
How do you plan to charge for this?
Right now it's free if your site is 250 megabytes or less. And if you want to manage multiple sites or your site is up to a gigabyte, so above 250 megabytes, it's $10 a month. And then we have an agency plan if you're larger than a gigabyte.
And how do you intend to distribute?
Our distribution plan is sort of twofold. So right now we're acquiring customers on a one-off basis just to gain traction and get information about which features to develop and pour our time and energy to. And then at the same time I'm working with hosting providers. So there's a company called A Small Orange, and the CEO of that company sits on our board of advisors, and I've been speccing out the cPanel plugin with him. And I have several other hosting providers lined up, and our goal is to work with them on revenue share agreements, because they like us, one, for revenue share, and then also to reduce their technical support costs, because customers can troubleshoot problems themselves rather than call them and require them to spend time and energy with the customers.
Jeff?
So do you sell that as some kind of an insurance policy to people, or because typically once they're hacked, they wish they had been using you, but it's too late. So how do you sort of market yourself?
That's a great question. I had someone in my office a week ago. He sat down and would not let me leave until he backed up his site because his wife's law firm's site had been hacked. And I tried to leave to go to lunch. He said, no, you're staying here until we get our site loaded in your system. So you bring up a great point in that someone who's experienced the problem feels the pain in a way that someone who hasn't has not. And I think our challenge there is to work with hosting providers to market it in the right way. We think that if it comes from a hosting provider and it's marketed the right way and awareness grows in the community. So if you look 10 years ago, who was using Carbonite or Mozy? They didn't exist because no one was aware that laptop failure or computer failure was an issue. So it's a great point. I think we'll have to leverage influentials as well as really fine-tune our marketing to really roll it out in the right way.
Can you make money giving, I assume you have to then pay a commission that's reasonably substantial to the hosting provider. So how much, how does your margin structure support, going to market mainly as a, rev share basis kind of thing?
Absolutely. The question about how we're going to monetize it, and specifically with our revenue share partnerships, it's all predicated upon storage costs going to nearly nothing. And that is the reason we can actually offer CodeGuard today as opposed to 5 years ago. Because storage costs are so low, we can offer a very healthy margin to the hosting providers, and it still makes sense. Because our customer acquisition costs going through an aggregation channel is very, very minimal. I mean, that's the challenge, I think, in the small to medium business market. If I have to go out and acquire each customer in a disaggregated fashion, it's going to cost me a ton, which is X is greater than Y, and Y is the cost to go through the aggregator or maybe the rev share that I give to them.
And what is your current back end? What are you using for storage?
That's another good question. Right now, we just have a dedicated server, and the goal was, rather than build a site that can handle 1 million users, that's a happy problem to have. We'll build a system that can handle 5,000 users. Should we be in the advantageous position that we get there, then we'll put some more money towards scaling the back end. So we have a system that works very well for our 5,000 sites that we're going to close our beta off at. And then, should we get to the 5,000 and our investors are happy and think that's the right direction we want to go, we'll invest to allow us to scale from a back-end perspective.
You'll manage your own architecture, you'll manage your own servers, you'll have your own rack, you're not going to sub this out. No way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's some benefits to the cloud, and you have to really think smart about it, but there's a number of influentials and thought leaders that I think would agree for a product like this. While cloud is a great option, we can do that in-house.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up. That's CodeGuard, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
That's our Startup Alley audience choice. So well done to everyone who voted for them. Okay, that's the end of today's session. Thank you all for staying.